Welcome everybody to Mastery AI and ChatGPT. We have a lot of people here and this is going fast. We are recording this. I will be watching the chat. I've got Alex, my producer, watching the chat too. So go ahead and answer questions. Now we're going to go officially for 55 minutes, but then we'll do the wrap up, and then I'll stick around and answer questions. I can promote people to panelists and we can do interactive beyond just the presentation. But please keep in mind, this is going to go fast. This is not a keynote presentation. I'm not just going to talk to you about some fancy stories of how I climbed Mount Everest. This is a hands-on, strategic and tactical training on how you can leverage it. Now, I've looked at the attendee list. We've got franchise brands, C-level executives, other experts, other trainers, whatever you are in business, this is going to be helpful for you. So let's get right into it with the first key point. What's our agenda going to be? Well, we're going to talk about why all the hype. We're definitely going to dig deep into prompt engineering. We're going to cover some do's and don'ts because you need to be careful, because if you jump in without some cautions, you're going to have some hard times. We're going to definitely cover some very specific strategies and tactics. And then, of course, I'm reminding everybody that you will get the replay. And if you're watching this on the rebroadcast, that's great. Now, I made the slides. Some slides are more text intensive than others. I may share them full screen because I want you to be able to think about this while you're here live, ask your questions and take notes. But then one of your action steps needs to be to go back and watch the replay. You can slow it down at a different speed, and you can pause the video and capture all of the key points. All right, here we go. So what's our outcome? Why would you even care about prompt engineering in the beginning? Well, if you want to expand your influence, which means get more reach, if you want to improve and enhance the customer experience, if you want to generate leads of whether you're B2B or B2C or whatever type of business you're in, or if you're in a different role in the organization, obviously it's going to help you increase your sales, shorten the sales cycle, and create better narratives, and it'll definitely help you improve operations. So regardless of your role or responsibilities, this tool can certainly help. But what are we really talking about here? Because people are always asking me, is AI going to take over the world? Well, probably, but for right now, let's lean into this and use what we can while we can. I don't believe that AI is going to replace humans, but it's absolutely going to replace humans that aren't using AI. Genie back in the bottle? No, you're not going to. This thing is out there. If you've watched my other presentations, you already know what ChatGPT is. I just need you to know it's not going away, so you need to make sure you use it. All right, let's get right into it. If you're a newbie, well, actually, let's ask the poll. Alex, we created that fancy poll. Let's see if we can't launch the poll. So real quickly, here we go, launch. If everybody would do me a favor, if you're watching the replay, sorry, you don't get to participate in the Q&A or the polls. All right, so I get a feel for the audience for who's here today. We've got a couple hundred people that are registered. They'll be watching the replay, and a lot of people here live. So we got a few advanced people, few people that are using it, and a few newbies. I'm just going to give it another couple seconds here to get more respondents. We're at 60%. The faster you guys answer the poll, the faster we can get into more of the content. All right, here we go. We're pretty good. We've got so we have a lot of people here, it seems, that have already got their accounts. They're already using it. If you haven't, I'm gonna aim this content towards the people that are already using it. And so I'm gonna assume, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. I'm assuming you're already using it, but I'm gonna make sure that if you're new or if you're sharing this video with someone on your team, that they know where they can go to start. So anyway, thank you guys. That's good. We got a lot of participation in the poll. That's the only one that I'm going to be using today, the only poll. Everything else is just going to be the video and the content and the interactive Q&A. All right, let's move on. So let's go back to getting your accounts. If you're new, get your accounts. Now, there are literally thousands of derivatives of large language models. So today, when I talk about AI, I'm going to mainly lean into ChatGPT, but a lot of the same strategies apply to Bard. If you're just a Bard user and you just think, no, great. You can still apply the same methodologies and formulas and prompting in Bard. Now, the reason I put Claude, I can't pronounce it, but look at the screen, Claude.ai. The reason I put that one up there is I want you to also get that one, because that one lets you have much larger, like you can go to Claude and have it read, like I have Superpower Book, or I have my 2 books sitting right here. So I've got both of these as PDFs, right? So I've got my Superpower Book and my Accelerate as PDFs. I can take them, upload the entire book to Claude and ask it to do summaries, write derivative blog posts, understand my writing style. So Claude lets you use much larger data sets when you're doing ChatGPT. And we're going to get into the plugins and all that too. All right, let's move on. And again, if you have questions, answer it. Now, some people would say, well, Ford, why are you even doing this presentation and why are you doing it for free? Well, as a lot of you know, I'm a keynote speaker, trainer, and consultant. I work with franchise brands and organizations that are trying to accelerate their growth. Well, obviously, and I run a digital marketing agency. Well, we create content, video, audio, narrative, strategy. So ChatGPT is something that I used when it first came out in like November and December, but I was using AI like Jasper and Quillbot way before those other models came out. So I've been known for taking complicated subjects and making them easy to understand. And recently, all of my bookings, even though I speak on business growth acceleration, all of my bookings have been on mastering AI and ChatGPT. So a little shameless plug, since this is my presentation. If you're interested in a program, reach out to me. I can certainly help you do this. I've been presenting to brands for 34 years, all different types of stages, large and small. Okay, so that was it. Hey, here we go. Let's hit yay. All right, so let's get right into prompt engineering. We are just a few minutes into the presentation, so I got that done right on time. Prompt engineering 101. I don't care if you're an expert or not, you've got to start treating your AI. When I say AI, I'm, again, ChatGPT, Bard, Cloud, Synthesia, Murph, Descript, doesn't matter which program you're using, treat it as an AI or intern. So all of you are probably in the workforce. If you hired a new staff member, you couldn't just send them on to do their job, you'd have to train them. Well, when we talk about the prompts, you're going to see a lot of the prompt methodology is based on treating it and training it as an assistant. All right, Alex, watch the questions. I'll look at the questions. I'll stop later for questions as we keep going. That way I can focus. I do have a couple screens in here, so if you see me looking around, it's because I'm looking at the other monitors. Garbage in, garbage out, everybody. The rule number 1, if you go to I'm just going to say ChatGPT and you're trying to create a prompt, if you just treat it like Google, you're not going to get very good answers. We've all been conditioned to treat things like Google. We just ask simple questions. But I want you to think about your prompt engineering as complex, customized conversations. So complex, customized conversations. You need to give it the context. Now I've got a complete step-by-step formula, but as we start this, you just need to understand that no matter what your role is, operations, sales, marketing, manufacturing, it doesn't matter. You need to treat it as an AI, like you just now hired a whole family or army of interns that are going to go to work for you. And the more you train them, and we're going to talk about custom instructions and default settings here in a minute. For those of you that are advanced, don't worry, we're going to get into some of the really heavy stuff too. So garbage in, garbage out. We already discussed your roles and responsibilities. So as you're watching this or participating live, I want to make this relevant to how you work. So think about your key questions, put them into the chat or put them into the Q&A. I know Alex, we have the Q&A open. So you should be able to answer questions. If not, I'll look at the chat. So no worries on the technology side. Just want to make sure that you get your questions answered. Before we start prompt engineering, you need to know about the 4 main pitfalls. Number 1, if you over rely on this tool, you're going to get burned. ChatGPT and AI in general will hallucinate. It will make up answers. It will make up site references that aren't real. Even though it's getting smarter every day, and ChatGPT is supposed to be 100 times smarter than 3, and 5 will be 100 times smarter than 4, it will hallucinate and completely make stuff up. So you just have to be very careful. it is bias. It's been programmed. It's programmed by how people are using it. And every day, every minute, it's getting different training because it's learning from all of the people that are prompting it. It is biased. Some of the information may not be what you're looking for. And then, of course, this is a big one, data security. You got to really be careful with these tools, because if you're uploading customer lists or if you're up proprietary information, I would just tell you, as a general rule, you're being recorded as I'm speaking to you right now on Zoom through my studio here in Prime Concepts. I've got my Alexa unit sitting over here. I don't want to say anything because all your units are going to go off. I have Siri on my phone. I have an Apple Watch. I guarantee you're being recorded and listened to thousands of times a day. And I guarantee it, because there's stuff that I'll be talking about with my wife. And the next thing I know, I'm getting ads on TikTok for stuff that we talked about. So just the data security part, that could be a whole webinar in itself. As a marketer, look, I appreciate getting customized messaging so that I don't get messages or ads on things I don't want. So I don't really worry about that as a marketer. I look at things a little differently. I believe that all social media and websites are just communication tools, and communication is just the response it elicits, and that marketing and sales is just giving people enough information that they can make good decisions. So, don't get seduced by technology. And I know, and one of the reasons I turned the chat off for chat is because I've done these before, and everybody starts going, well, have you heard about this new AI? Have you heard about this new AI? And they end up putting, distracting you. Start simple, get complicated later. Start with ChatGPT. And then when you and I'm going to show you some favorites. I'm going to give you some advanced resources coming up. All right, watch my time. Okay, we're doing good on time. Next. The use cases, I'm not going to read all these. I'm putting them up here so that you can go back and you can watch them on the video live. So obviously you can brainstorm, create all types of content. You can generate Q&As if you're doing your website or creating a chat bot. You can write personalized emails. Let's see, you've got one other one. Analyzing big data is real good. Product recommendations, it can write all kinds of content. Market research, you got to be careful with that one because, again, it can give you hallucination examples. Business plans, marketing plans. Now, I want you to pay attention to 14, 15, and 16. So one of the things I've done is I was hired to go speak at a conference, and you have your speaking contract and they sign it, and then there's recording rights. If they're going to record me for replay, they have to pay a fee or they have to give me the master file of the video. But the event that I was going at didn't want me to use my video recording release, so they sent me their document. So I went to ChatGPT and said, I'm Ford Saeks. I'm a Hall of Fame keynote speaker, blah, blah, blah. And I want to protect my rights for my likeness and content. And I trained the prompt. And I said, I want you to review this recording release and let me know if there's any red flags that I should be aware of. And it came up with 3 possible problems. I was able to change those and go back to the client. Now, keep in mind that the chat will give you a warning. Look, we're not giving you legal advice. This is for information and educational purposes only. But if I hadn't had those 3 clauses, it might have really cost me in the long run. So going back to the 3, so legal, you can get legal advice, but you got to be careful. Excel spreadsheets and formulas, it can do powerful things. And now with the code interpreter, it can even do more. And number 16, it can do programming. One of the things I do is I speak at associations. And so a lot of times I need to get the key contacts, or I have a benefit. I'm going to give away my book to maybe all their members, and the meeting planner I'm working with says, well, I don't really know how to get a list of my members. Guess what? You can go to ChatGPT and say, I need you to write code to scrape the public, keyword there, everybody, public, it's not private, the public database, and give me their names and mailing addresses so that I can send them books. And it wrote the code in about 8 seconds. It showed me how to implement it, and I was able to execute it and scrape 1,500 names from an association database and send them all books. So, I mean, I never could. I mean, I've got a dozen people on staff. I have programmers on staff. That would have cost a lot of money and a lot of time to do that. So I hope that what I'm talking about now is bringing up some questions for you as we go through this. Now, I'm going to put this up full screen only for a second. These are the 16 things that I just talked about. So when you're watching the video replay, you can come back here and pause the video and write it down. So, all right, what have we talked about so far? You got to be careful. You got to watch garbage in, garbage out. You got to treat it like an intern, and you need to do your due diligence and be cautious of the data. Let's get into the next step. You need to set up, and I'm going to talk about ChatGPT first, your defaults, your plugins, and if you're using a browser, there are AI browser extensions. So defaults are the program that you're using, like ChatGPT or Bard or the other ones. Plugins on ChatGPT, there's now a new feature that was released that lets you do some really cool things. And I'm going to show you how to do it in a minute. And then there are browser extensions. So those are like adding superpowers to the AI. All right, Alex, make sure if there's something wrong, you come in and just tell me in my office or chat me, because I'm not seeing anything really changing on what we're doing here in the chat. Moving on. Okay, so this is your settings. Now I'm going to jump over to Zoom to my screen share in real time. But in ChatGPT, if you go to your settings on your account, you're going to go to beta features, and you're going to turn on custom instructions, turn on plugins, and turn on the code interpreter. So I'm going to show you where that is real quickly. Hopefully I have nothing else on my screen when I share my screen. Okay, there's my Slack channel. Let's get rid of that, everybody. Let's go back here. Here we go. All right, so ChatGPT, we're going to come down here to my account, settings and beta, and here are the beta features. So you can watch the video to see how I got there. I'm using Chrome, but I just went to my account, beta features, and I turned on, and in this case, I just turned on, and they've changed it even since the last time I took the screenshot. So the beta features are just plugins and code interpreter. So the slide, I'll have to update the slide. But this is where you would set that up. All right, let's go back into the presentation. So there's the custom instructions aren't a beta feature anymore. They're actually just a regular feature. So let me show you where the I'm going to show you on slides first, and then we'll go to the custom instructions, because I want you to have all this. Okay, so custom instructions. Custom instructions have two basic questions. What would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better responses? And how would you like ChatGPT to respond? Now, I've already customized mine. So the first question, this is for you to decide, and they've got some thought starters. You know, where are you based? What type of company do you work for? What are your goals? What do you talk about? So this is where you can craft a prompt that's like a global, think about this like global settings, right? So if you set up custom instructions, and if you say apply these custom instructions to every prompt, then when you start a new prompt, you don't have to start with training it every single time. These are like global instructions. All right, I'm going to show you where those are. We're going to share the screen. And those are right down here under your account, custom instructions. Now, I've taken all my information out for the purposes of this webinar, but this is where I would put it. I would enter the data right in the middle of the screen here, and then I would answer the second question. So there's two questions. What would you want, and how would you like it to respond? And for the purposes of the video and our training today, these are the custom instructions that I use. Now I'm going to pull this full screen just so you can see the types of things that I wrote. So I'm Ford Saeks. I'm a business growth accelerator, blah, blah, blah. I've created a lot of companies. I'm a pioneer in prompt engineering. I work internationally with different types of brands. I work with franchises and associations. My primary goal is to add value and deliver strategic and tactical solutions through content marketing, consulting, and speaking engagements. And this is an important part. My ideal clients, which I have a much larger ideal client profile, but are business owners, executives, and meeting planners, because I want that when I'm asking it to do something, to keep that in mind so that it's better. Now, I could also, in those custom instructions, tell it how I want it to format my content, which is the next screen coming up. So this is my custom instructions that I used. I cut it out for the purposes of the slide, but this is what I had in my custom instructions on how do I want ChatGPT to respond. Now, these I'm going to go through. I'm going to read them if you're listening to this on a podcast or just with your video off. I want ChatGPT to maintain a high level of organization. I want to make sure it's precise and complete. I want it to sort their sizes when available. I want it to deliver the response in organized, clear ways, preferably in a table format. I want, and this is a nice one, I like format extended responses with clarity using headlines, subheads, bullets, and so that way when I get the response, it's already ready to use. I want it to aim for depth and comprehensive in its answers. Don't waste time telling me you're an AI. That has to do like when I was asking it to act as a intellectual property attorney. I don't need the warning to come up and say, well, Ford, I'm an AI model, so I'm not giving you legal advice. I don't care about that crap. Sorry, crap's a technical term. I just want to know that it's going to give me the answers. So don't waste time telling me that you're an AI. Offer innovative and potentially overlooked solutions. Now, this is a big one, and I want you to write this one down. When prompting in my defaults, I have it say, if you don't understand, ask me more questions until you do to produce the best results. Now, I do have a question that came in that says, hey, Ford, I don't maybe see those features. Yes, I'm paying $20 for the paid version. I can't imagine anybody, this tool is worth many more zeros than that to me. So I would recommend that if you can't see the instructions as I've outlined them here and you can't see this, it's because I've got the paid account. $20 per account. Yes, I've had more than one person logged in at once, but I typically use it just for one person, for me, and on my desktop and laptop when I'm traveling. Okay, so those are the custom instructions. Now let's talk about the plugins, and then I'm going to show you a real life example of this. And then I've got a whole, for those of you don't worry, I've got a whole 7-step process of prompting. So what we're talking about right now is getting your system set up to produce the most powerful results. Then, yes, I'm going to give you step by step of exactly how you create prompt. I'm just looking over there at my big clock on the wall to make sure I'm on track. Okay, we're still right on track. So let's move on. All right, so ChatGPT 4, you'll see the arrows here on the slide, has plugins. The ones that I like best are on the screen, but you can play around and experiment with the plugins that you want. So you'll see I have a link reader, Vox script, and Zapier, but you can also see there's a plugin store. Now I'm going to show you where this is. So we're going to go back to the camera for a second. I'm going to jump in live and show you where this is so you can see it. So right here, get out of this for a second. I didn't save the custom instructions. Sorry. Okay. So right now I'm just in the regular chat window on ChatGPT 4, and you'll see there's 3.5 and 4. I have 4 as my default, which is selected. And right now you can see I've got some plugins. And if I scroll down here, it only lets you have 3 plugins at a time enabled. You can go to the plugin store. And then this is, by the time you watch this replay, this store is going to be different, right? But so again, I'm telling you which ones I use. I use the AI PDF reader. I use the link reader because I want it to be able to go out and read websites. And I use Zapier if I wanted to take data in and out. And I use a couple others. And Vox script. Vox script is the one I'm going to show you just in a minute. So those are the 3 that I use. You'll see right now they're enabled. I've got the link, the PDF, and Vox enabled. But I could easily add others. I could add website performance and Zapier, and I could change them. So those prompts. Now I'm going to show you an example of what the plugin was used for and how I could use it. So I went into ChatGPT, and I mean most of you, if you're here, whoops, I hit the clock. Let me turn that back off. Okay. So most of you have had to use ChatGPT to create some type of content. And I would guess, and if you're not, you should be leveraging the power of video, right? I mean, it's 2023 is the time I'm broadcasting this. You definitely should be leveraging video. Well, imagine that you've got all these YouTube videos or other videos somewhere else, and you want to go transcribe them. Maybe you have a long video or something about your products or your brand or your company or your onboarding, and you want to slice that up into smaller pieces. Well, now ChatGPT can go out and watch that video, interact with that video, and give you results. So I'll show you what I did. I created a prompt that said, watch this video and transcribe it, then summarize the key points. Then create an SEO optimized YouTube description with hashtags and emojis. Ask me any clarifying questions before you start. Now, keep in mind, with my default settings, I wouldn't have to do that, but I want to really anchor for the people watching this that you should be asking your AI, do you understand? Or ask me any clarifying questions before you start, because that's just like you would do to an employee or an intern. And then you're going to get superior results. So if you leave this presentation today with nothing more than you're going to start saying, whatever your prompt is, do you understand? If not, ask me more questions. Boy, you're going to get way, way, way better results in the long run. All right, so let's show you what this came up with. So here's what it came up with. I had it watch a video. It was excerpts of me speaking at some recent corporate events. And I'm not going to, it doesn't matter what it says. You can just see, though, that I asked it to watch the video, summarize the key points. It summarized the key points. Then I asked it to create the YouTube description, and it created the YouTube description. And it made it easy for me to copy and paste to be able to take the YouTube description and go paste it right back into YouTube. So again, the plugin is there. And again, if you stay around after the hour, I'll do some live. We can elevate everybody to panelists if we have to, and we can do some interaction at the top of the hour in about 32 minutes. I said 55 minutes from a marketing standpoint. I'm going to go an hour, 55, 57, and then we're going to keep the recording going afterwards. But I understand if you have to drop off because you've only scheduled the 60 minutes. And obviously, if you hire me to do a keynote, yes, I always meet my time because I don't want your meeting to run off schedule. All right, here we go. Next. So here's another thing. So then I said, okay, I know it can read video, or I know it can watch videos. Can it read PDF? So recently I was with a bunch of my buddies in Cleveland, Scott McCain, Nita Quabain, Jay Baer, Dan Burris, Mark Sanborn. Several of you guys are actually on this call. So Skip Pritchard, if I haven't named you all, just let it go. But Steve Spangler was in the room. And if you don't know who Steve Spangler is, you know, you're living under a rock, right? So he's been on Ellen a bunch of times. He's written all these books. And so we were talking with Steve, and he's a very sharp, savvy guy. And I was showing him the ability to read a PDF. And he said, well, could this read my ebook? And so we actually, while we were in the meeting room, went, and he had like a 135-page illustrated PDF because he does experiments. He does science experiments, right? So Steve Spangler Science, just Google it, go to YouTube. He's got billions of views. And sorry, it's take your dog to work day, and she's barking now. All right, we're moving on. So this is live, everybody. So just deal with it. So we took the video, or we took the PDF from Steve Spangler. We used ChatGPT-4. It read the 135-page PDF illustrated. Now, this isn't like a Word document PDF. This was a professionally designed, full bleed, 4-color document. And it described all the experiments, and it was just unreal how it worked. Now, today I did something for this presentation, which is a little simpler. So one of my colleagues is Richard Bliss. He's the renowned expert on LinkedIn and LinkedIn prospecting. If you don't know Richard, you got to check Richard Bliss out. But I've worked with Richard. I've hired him to work with my team before on LinkedIn and LinkedIn prospecting. But so he had a 35-page report on the algorithm research. This was just something I had on my computer, so I pulled it up. And this was one that was done a couple years ago. But I asked ChatGPT to go read the report and summarize it, and it used the PDF plugin, and then it summarized a 35-page PDF document. So again, it's just amazing what these plugins can do. So again, ask your questions. I'll look at the chat. I'll look at the Q&A. I do have a Q&A question. So the question that was actually from Devin. Do you have to be on version 4 of ChatGPT versus 3.5 to customize? No, your customized instructions are in your account. They apply to 3.5 and 4. If you're trying to use the plugins, that's GPT-4. Okay, great job for the question. I answered it. So we'll just say that that's done. Okay, moving on. So now we talked about your main setups, which is your custom instructions and your plugins. There's another one which could be a whole different webinar. We can go into an advanced, and maybe we'll do that next, Alex, is how to use the code interpreter. The code interpreter is like putting ChatGPT on steroids. That the code interpreter is the thing that I wrote to go to the association and actually write programming code. So it can do data analysis. It can create the data and create visualizations from a data set. It can write all types of different programming code and different programming languages. It can do amazing math, and it can handle large files. So it's easily activated in that. But again, some of you don't start there. You're probably going to get confused if you go too far into the code interpreter. All right, so let's get right into it. We're right on time. We got 30 more minutes with this. 28 if you're really being anal. All right, so let's talk about effective prompting. I'm going to go through the 7 steps, and then we're going to actually go do some live if anybody has any questions. Now, some of you have heard this before, and I'm famous for saying it's not what you know, it's how well you execute. So great, you've heard it before, but I want you to share this video training that we're doing today with anybody on your team or anybody that works for you. I will be posting it up on YouTube. It's going to go live next week as a rebroadcast. But here's the key points. There's 7 of them. I'm going to cover them, and then we're going to answer any clarifying questions. So effective prompting starts with treating your AI as an intern and talking like you're talking to a real person. That's number 1. Number 2, you need to be specific in your context of your dialogue. The more specific you are, the better results you're going to get. And the more you practice and refine how you craft your prompts, the better it's going to get. Number 3, you need to tell your AI, when I say your AI, I'm talking about your large language model, whatever system you're using, to assume an identity or a profession. Remember that earlier explanation when I said, act as an intellectual property attorney and blank. So I gave it a persona, I gave it a task, and I said, this is exactly what I want you to consider yourself as. You know, I've started prompts before. Consider yourself an expert in blank that has experience in this industry, and give it the context. You will get way better results, and the results won't sound like a robot wrote it if you follow these prompting steps. Number 4, use personas and instruct the perspective. So give it the perspective that you're looking for. So if you're maybe you're a project manager and you're trying to write a product description, and you've got a product description that would put people into a coma, then you would go to ChatGPT and you would say, here's our original product description. Can you please make this more conversational, act as an expert in this. Here's your instructions. I want the output formatted like this, and write it at a 9th grade level, or write it like you're talking to a friend, or write. So you're going to give it the specifics. Again, the biggest takeaway from prompt engineering is creating more complex, customized conversations. And if you if you take that down on your notes and you sit down before you try to use anything in ChatGPT, you're going to get much better results. Don't just go to it and say, write a business plan. I'm a local franchisee and I want to get more business. Yeah, you're going to get a bunch of generic responses. But if you can say, I'm an edible arrangements franchisee in a suburban area or a college town. My ideal customer is between this age and this age, and I'm looking for a narrative, or, and again, now if you're a franchise brand, I know you have to follow your systems and go through compliance. So that was probably a bad example, but the point still is correct. The more information that you give your AI, the better it's going to be. Number 5, I like to specify formatting, and that's your output. So when I say specify formatting in the prompt, I'm going to say, put this into a table, put this into a PowerPoint slide format, put this into Markdown format, which is code for making a headline, subheads, summaries, bullets, paragraph headings, emojis, hashtags, and so forth. So give it the formatting that you want to use. And then the last 2 are ask, and you heard me say this 3 times today already, ask what else do they need to know. So I'll either say something like, do you understand? If not, ask me questions. Or if I'm going to do a complex prompt, I will say, I need to comment on my LinkedIn pod colleagues' posts. I want the post to be in first person and be relative to the post and add value to the conversation. I want you to follow the Richard Bliss methodology of doing this. Do you understand? And it'll come back and it'll say, yes, Ford, I understand. What's the first post? And then I go to LinkedIn, I grab the post, and I know some of you are going to be like, well, that's crap. You should be writing it yourself. Okay, that's a whole different conversation we can cover later. All right. But right now, I'm telling you, if you want it to do a complex prompt, give it the instructions and it'll do it. And then it'll say, here's your answer. Did you like it? Yes. What's the next post? And then I go get the next post. So it's a continual conversation. It's not Google where it's a prompt and a response. It's actually a threaded conversation. Moving on. We got plenty of time. Okay. Next. So here's an example of a prompt with all those paces. I wanted to put up for the video so everybody could see it. So even though there was 7 steps, I broke them down into 5 tasks in here, 5 parts. So number 1 is context. What task do you want? What's your instruction? Clarify. And then once you get the response, you can refine it. So act as if you're an expert in blank with expertise in this. Your job or your role or your goal, whatever you're trying to accomplish, is to do whatever the task is. And the task could be anything you can think of. Your writing style is supposed to be blank, that you need to give it a style and a tone. Now, keep in mind, if you've already set up your custom instructions, you don't have to go into that. It's already going to start with that as a premise. Or if you're using a certain browser extension that has certain predisposed prompts, then it's already going to start with that in the prompt. Okay, and then of course you want to refine your responses. Because I work with brands to help them improve don't worry, I'll bring that back up in a second. But because I work with brands to help them shorten their sales cycle, they want to engage their customers. They want to get more conversions. They want to get more opt-ins. They want to get more leads. They want to be more referable. Well, there are certain copywriting and narratives that you can use. Maybe you're a fan of Donald Miller's Story Brand book, or maybe you've participated in one of Russell Brunson's presentations on ClickFunnels or on marketing. There's a lot of people right now calling them an expert, especially when it comes to AI. There's 3,500, give or take, some members in the National Speakers Association. I've been a member for decades in the Hall of Fame, blah, blah, blah. And everybody with a laptop right now is calling themselves an AI expert, and I guess you could say, well, Ford, what makes you an AI expert? Well, I've been a marketing expert for decades using new technology and digital, so these are just natural tools for me. I didn't have to learn the tool to figure it out, and especially when it comes to crafting compelling copy. So on the screen are the formulas that you can tell ChatGPT to follow. You don't need to write out the formula. You can use the abbreviation. So I can say, and we'll do some Q&A here coming up here in a little bit. I could say, write me a sales letter for blank using the AIDA or AIDA formula. And it already knows what that is. So these are the formulas. I'm going to put them full screen so that you can capture them for your video when you stop the video here. I'll give you just a second. So these are the ones I use. The ones I use the most are the PAS, the problem, agitate, solve, and then the before, after bridge. Those are the 2 that I like the best, and because they give you the best narrative. Because as a copywriter, I mean, and this is something I work with, any brand who we've ever worked with or any company who's ever come to me, there's a problem and there's a consequence. So there's, you have to give them the pain and sell them the aspirin, right? So you have to be able, if you're going to get any attention, your headlines are critical and your narratives have to be very clear. And so you can use ChatGPT and you can say, I want you to visit this link and read my homepage, and then I want you to come back and rewrite the homepage copy using this formula, and boom, your homepage is going to be more effective because it now can go out and read the page, it understands the page, and it can come back and then it can follow the formula. So I hope by now people are putting some questions in to getting some good answers here on how you can actually use the copywriting formulas. Now, I said I would share a few formulas, and then we're going to actually, we'll do some live interactive Q&As, and I'll jump in and I can bring people up. If you have a hand, if you have a question, excuse me, I think you can use your responses and you can raise your hand, and that will show up in the participants list. And then I'll be able to see if you have any questions. Now, some of you might be saying, well, Ford, I don't want to ask questions. Well, ask the questions because your friends want to know. I'll assume you already know the answer, but you're bringing up the question to do that. Well, thank you. We have our first question coming up, but not yet. But thank you for showing me how that works, Devin. All right, so here are a few favorites. Again, this could be a whole 2-hour training all by itself, but these are the favorites that I'm using right now in my business. I'm just going to show them to you. Mark this down as something you can experiment with later. So we already talked about Claude. That's going to help me work with, and I hope I have that URL right. Yeah, it should be right. It lets you work with larger files. That's the one that I use to upload my whole book, 186 pages, and then summarize it and repurpose the content for social media and lead magnets. Zapier, you're probably familiar with, but that gets data in and out of different systems. I love Descript. I use Descript to upload a video, and everybody says connectors like and like. Well, you can use Descript for a podcast or a video, and you can edit the transcript, and it automatically edits the video. So it's super cool, and it can do a lot more than that. Murph.ai did my introduction for my podcast. So I'm going to play it with you. It did this sound over. Now let's see if you didn't know, would you know this was AI?
Welcome to Fortify Live with your host, Ford Saeks.
So I have my sound effects turned down. Of course, then it went back to Fortify, but we're not in Fortify. We're in this one. Okay. So hopefully, Alex, let me know if that worked. Just text me or something and see if the sound worked so that we can make sure that keeps working. But the point is, going back to the slide, so Murph did a voiceover. So I needed a voiceover introduction. I didn't have time to jump on Fiverr or turn on my microphone or have someone record it. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, write me an introduction for my podcast. Boom. And I took the podcast text, went to Murph, picked the voice I want, and said, record the voice. Then downloaded the voice, and they did. The volume was really low. Okay, thanks for letting me know. I'll turn up the master volume when we go do it. So thanks for that, whoever just gave me that feedback. But the point is, again, don't get seduced by technology, but there are tools. Synthesia is a great tool that can take. So I'm an affiliate for a company that does VAs. And so I needed to create some content, but I didn't have time. We have so many projects going on between my speaking, training, consulting. So I went to ChatGPT. I said, I need you to write a video sales letter promoting it as an endorsement for virtual assistants. And this is the company. And I went through the whole prompt and I got a script. Then I took the script to Synthesia, which is a company where you can, think about it like PowerPoint with AI avatars. So I picked the template, I picked the person or the avatar, I picked the voice, and I built the slides, built the video in about 15 minutes. And it's on my YouTube channel. You guys can go look at that later if you want to go check that out. But it was really easy to create content. So if you're one of those people who just doesn't like to be, on camera, well, now there are tools that you can, do that. Now, I didn't talk about the security risks of the scams that are going around right now, because literally there are AI tools that can listen to 3 seconds of your voice and clone you. And they're doing scam calls and calling saying your kids are in jail and you need money. Like, you got to use caution nowadays, but we're here to talk about prompt engineering and the tools that you can use for that. GetMunch is great for video repurposing. It'll take a large video and munch it down. Midjourney will take descriptions from text and create some amazing video imagery. Superhuman.ai is great for email. If you're someone who has to respond to a lot of emails, if you want to check out Superhuman.ai. And again, none of these links that I'm posting on the screen right now are affiliate links, right? Because I'm just giving you their basic link straight to their website. So no affiliate links here, just telling you what the favorites are that I'm using right now. Repurpose.io, you can use that to take your content to different locations. And then Lumen 5 will actually generate videos from your content. So it's super, super Super cool. Now, we're at 15 minutes. Good. So we're going to, in just a minute here, we're going to go to the live Q&A. I'm going to go to the interactive. But if you're done at this point and you feel like you've got enough to go watch, I understand. But this is, if you're interested in bringing me into your organization, you can check me out at Profit Rich Results. If you scan the QR code, it goes to a special landing page, which of course it should as a marketer, where you can check out the topic and what I'm doing. So that's the only shameless plug I have right there. And with that, I believe that we're going to go to the straight to Q&A. Yep, we're going straight to Q&A. All right, so let's go back. And so what we're going to do now, officially, we're going to keep recording. So if you do not want to have your question on a recording, then don't come on screen. But if you want to raise your hand, I'll elevate you. We'll kind of change this from a webinar, which is everybody's muted, to where we can do some interactive examples. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go answer the questions and answers. The first question is, what's the PDF reader and link called again? So, hey, Lisa, nice to have you here. The answer is, let me share the screen. So the PDF reader is this one. It's called AI PDF. It's in the store. So when you go into ChatGPT and you go to Chat4 and you go to the plugin store, you scroll down here to the bottom to the plugin store, and it's right here on the middle of the screen. Next, when specified, formatted, and pasted into Word, it has a background that makes it paste in every format. How do you fix that? Okay, so what the question is so let's say I ask a question, give me 3, this is not a good prompt, so please, 3 ideas for digital marketing. It is really bad, so I shouldn't even be putting this in here, but I'm wanting you to show, I even spelled it wrong. I just want to show you how to copy and paste. So basically, if you're in ChatGPT, that is not a good prompt, full disclosure, so don't bash me on social media. But what we're talking about is what happens when you copy all the context, and I'm just going to let it finish a couple more things, and I'll just copy it. Now, I'm going to show you how to do it on PC. It's a little bit different on a Mac. But let's say you've got this great response, and there's a little copy button that'll come up here when it's all done. But I'm just going to right-click and copy. I'm going to jump over to Microsoft Word. And now we all have seen this where you paste it, and it looks like that. So what you can do is you can right-click, and you can see here there are 3 different versions. There's paste as content, don't merge, or keep the text only. So now I can paste it. Let me just go down here, and so you can see this a little easier. And so I can paste it like that. And so you can see it, instead of putting in a table format, it's given to me in a nice text format. So great question. Thank you. Will you repeat which plugin does the video again? Absolutely. So since we're already in a screen share, let me just go back to Chrome and go to the plugins. Let's just go to new chat. So Vox Script enables searching of YouTube transcripts and web browsing, searching, and more. So Vox Script is the one for the video. Great question. Next, when specifying format and pasting in Word, okay, we did that one. We did that one. So we have a question from Vivian, says, how does Perplexity.ai compare to ChatGPT? Well, what I would share with you is Bard and Google are large language models, LLM. Those large language models, think of them like engines. There are all types of developers and thousands on TikTok. Oh, here's the new one you should use, right? That are given access to the engine, and they're putting that engine in their own car. So if you say, well, what's the difference between ChatGPT and that? Well, the engine is the data set's going to come from the large language model. What the company has done is they've put some type of power to it or customization. So I would do your due diligence. I am not an expert on every single derivative of the different programs. I gave you some of the favorites that I've seen, but I'm telling you that those are the favorites as of this live broadcast. If you're watching this video replay months from now, some of those aren't even going to be around, or they've already going to be morphed. And I know those beta features are already going to be real features. So thank you for those questions. All right, moving on to the next question. Hi, Ford. I got in a little bit late in your podcast, but as you know, you helped me. Oh, Jim Nussbaum. Okay, so Jim Nussbaum, we published his book. So Jim, I'm glad you're here. Several requests for the verbal version of your book. Can chat handle this? So So Jim, I know you real well. Jim is one of these people who is very creative but extremely smart when it comes to language and writing. So he would tear me up on my language patterns on this presentation. Jim, you could go to murph.ai, upload your book, and it could create an audio book. I have never done it, but I know that their site says you can. So murph.ai can take a PDF document or a PDF of your book and turn it into an audio book, supposedly, but I haven't actually seen that happen. Next, are you concerned about the safety of the plugins? Angela, look, years ago when there was a recession, one of my colleagues, mentors in our mastermind group said, I know there's a recession, but I choose not to participate. So they just chose, hey, I'm not going to participate. So that's kind of how I am with the security. I don't put anything into ChatGPT that I don't want the world to know. I don't care what the privacy settings say. I don't care what the checkbox say. I don't say if it says don't send my data. I'm assuming that if it's in my office with my computers and all the crap I have in here, that it's being recorded. So yeah, safety is definitely a concern, and especially with the plugins, because you're giving the plugins access to other things. So do your due diligence by all means. Next, Lisa, we got that one. Got Jim's done. Next question. What is the link reader called? I found the PDF reader. Okay, so the link reader again, Lisa. So that's easy to do. I hope you guys are getting some great deal information here. I know I'm talking fast because I'm just excited and I want you to get all this great resources. So the link, I use this Ask Link bot or link or access link. These are the two that I use. I use this access link. So here's an example. This is the actual prompt that I used for the slides a minute ago. Remember, I said, watch this video. I used this prompt. It gave me the summary, and then there's the YouTube description. Then I said, go read Richard Bliss's PDF. So this was the PDF. You can see this is the Richard Bliss PDF, and it was, how many pages? 44 pages. So again, if you want that, check out Richard Bliss. This is shameless promotion for my friend. But he has updated content, not this. But you can see it's a 44-page, PDF with all kinds of pictures and text and everything else. Well, I told ChatGPT, here was the prompt. I said, read this ebook and summarize the key points. Then it was too long, so it said, upload the PDF for summarization. This is part of the plugin. So when you click the link, it lets you choose the file, which I choose, and this is my AI folder for the event folder, right? And so I just told it to pick the LinkedIn algorithm PDF. And then I got the link, and then I went back and I pasted the link in here, right here. And then it said, okay, here's a summary of the book. And then it gave me the disclaimer summary right out of that PDF. Now I could have given it better instructions. And then I said, summarize the bulleted list. And it said, okay, Ford, here it is. And then it gave me the quick summarization of it. So I've done this before where I'll do a discovery call with a client, and I was just on the client with an agriculture company that wants to rebrand. And so we did a 45-minute Zoom call this morning before this. And so when I'm done, I'm going to use Saeks.ai, which is an online program to transcribe the video. I know you guys could say, well, Zoom could do it. And yes, there's a million ways to do it. But I had the call. I go to Saeks, get the transcript. Then I'm going to pull the transcript back into ChatGPT, and now I'm going to tell it, here's who I am, here's the client, summarize their key points for my CRM system, give me a list of action steps, and it's going to go and it's going to give me all the notes from the meeting of all the key points, and then it's going to give me who said what. Like, I'm going to send you a proposal, and it's going to be this much, and so I'm going to get all those key points, and that saves a tremendous amount of time. All right, next we have. Next question is the link reader. We covered that one. So Carl, hey, nice to have Carl on here. Carl says a quick question about intellectual property. Yeah, Carl, I would expect this from you. From a copyright standpoint, do I own what I create versus generative AI? Well, Carl's asking a loaded question. So what I would say, because he has a lot of experience in this, and he's looking to see probably how I'm going to answer this. So for the purposes of this presentation, I'm not giving you legal advice. This is for information and educational purposes only. With that being said, it says you own it, but I know that if it's generating content, it's putting that content into the large language model. So I would probably not be the best person to ask that. I know Chuck Gallagher, a friend of mine, colleague, is doing a lot on ethics right now. And I know, Carl, you're an expert in a lot of those types of areas. I think we're in a whole new world. It's a wild, wild west. And, I'm using it to create social media content, but I am making sure that it sounds like me and it has my voice. I'm not just blindly using the content, because that would just be, one, unethical, I think, and not real. But it's no different than if I hired an intern or a ghostwriter to help me write something, and they watched all my presentations, and then they were to create a video or a book about it. I think it's a tool, but certainly the ethics question and who owns it is a bigger one than I can actually answer. Now, I know we've reached the top of the hour, but I'm going to keep going. So just so you know, I'm going to officially kind of give it a kind of a wrap up here. This is Ford Saeks from Prime Concepts and ProfitResults.com. We've been talking about unlocking the power of AI and ChatGPT. We covered a whole host of things on the do's and don'ts and what you can do. And I gave you ideas on how to use it and how to prompt and how to set your defaults up and the 7 key steps that you can use to create effective prompts. And then definitely some caution. So with that, I appreciate everybody being here for Unlocking the Power of AI, ChatGPT, and Bard. This is Ford Saeks, your host for this presentation, Hall of Fame keynote speaker and best-selling author and blah, blah, blah. Hope to see you on the next thing. Connect with me on LinkedIn. If you stuck around this long, connect with me on LinkedIn. So I'm going to stay 30 more seconds. I'm going to paste my LinkedIn into the text here. Let's go forward on LinkedIn. Here we go. So there's my LinkedIn. So if I'm not already connected with you on LinkedIn, go ahead and do that. And everybody will get the video replay. Bye for now, everybody.